Alright, so I got an exciting episode for you guys today. Today's episode is going to have it all. It's got heat, war, elimination, annihilation. I mean, this is one that would make a good movie. And 100% of it is technically not bullshit from what I just told you, if you look at it from that angle, I guess. Today's episode is a continuation of the last episode. It's part 2 of the Big Bang on the early universe. Alright, welcome to another episode of Down the Line. I'm your host, and you can call me Pete, because, that's my name. And today we're going to start, it's actually going to be a continuation of the last episode that we did, which is on the Big Bang in the very early universe. And today goes into just the early universe itself, at a state when everything was better understood. And we're going to start with Baryogenesis, and this actually began during the Electroweak epoch, which was the last epoch of the first episode. And the reason I didn't jump into it in that episode was because I wanted to keep it more linear, and a lot of the events that happen here aren't exactly linear, so it does get a little more confusing. And I'm going to try to keep it as linear as I can, but we'll see how that goes. So with baryogenesis, it's a process that caused a surplus of quarks to begin to accumulate. This is actually the reason why we have mass today. The universe at this state is believed to be a plasma. It basically caused the imbalance of matter and antimatter by having them annihilate one another until matter was what was left in abundance. It's kind of crazy to think about it this way too. Like in the beginning, I was talking about war, and that's kind of the reference that I made right there. It seems like matter and antimatter were having this battle, and matter won the battle. So I thought that was an interesting way to think about it. So we'll go into the Quark epoch, which is at 1 picosecond, which is where the first episode ended. So this started with the end of the Electroweak epoch, when the weak and electromagnetic forces separated. The fundamental interactions of gravitation, electromagnetism, the strong and the weak interactions had taken their present forms, which is why it's so much better understood today than the first. The first one, like I said, was a lot of speculation, and this is stuff that we can actually prove now, which is pretty cool. The temperature of the universe was still too high at this point to allow quarks to bind together to form hadrons, and that's why there's so much of an abundance of them, because they really have nothing to do at this point. They can't become anything else. At this point, the universe is full of a dense, hot quark-gluon plasma containing quarks, leptons, and their antiparticles. And basically, leptons are particles that don't undergo strong force interactions. They also form with other particles to become atoms. This epoch ended at 10 to the negative 6 seconds, when the average energy of particle interactions had fallen below the binding average energy of hadrons. The following period, when quarks bind to make hadrons, is known as the Hadron epoch. You're going to notice that a lot is that during these epochs, basically like the Hadron epoch, the one after this is the Lepton epoch, and these epochs are just filled with whatever, the quarks bind to become hadrons, and there's an abundance of hadrons. And then the hadrons and the antihadrons eliminate each other, and then the next epoch is just filled with leptons. And that's kind of what this whole episode is about, just all these different stages of whatever dominated the universe at this point. So with the Hadron epoch, that started where the last one ended at 10 to the negative 6 seconds. And at this point, the mass of the universe is dominated by hadrons, which were quarks that binded together. The temperature of the universe had fallen sufficiently to allow the quarks from the preceding quark epoch to bind together to form hadrons. Initially, the temperature was high enough to allow the formation of hadron and antihadron pairs, which kept matter and antimatter in thermal equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium is when no heat flows between when connected by a path permeable to heat. So they're at this perfect balance where there's no heat flow between them. As the temperature of the universe continues to fall, hadron and antihadron pairs were no longer produced. Most were then at this point eliminated in annihilation reactions, leaving a small residue of hadrons. And at this point, every time when you have, for this one it's hadron, and then you have antihadrons, they eliminate each other, and all that's left are hadrons. And that's why with baryogenesis, all we're left with today is a huge abundance of mass, is because it always seems to defeat its anti-state. The Hadron Epoch eventually ended with the elimination of the anti-hadrons at 1 second when the Lepton Epoch began. So we're at 1 second now of the universe. All this time that we've been talking about so far, from the first episode to now, 1 second has passed. That just is fucking mind-blowing to me. That you're even able to look in these tiny little details going so far into it. So like I mean at 1 second, I mean, yeah, that was 1 second. All that happened at that one moment. It's just mind-blowing to me. So at 1 second with the Lepton Epoch, leptons dominate the mass of the early universe, just like with the quark and the hadrons, and now it's just left with leptons. After the majority of hadrons and antihadrons annihilated each other, the universe is still at a high enough temperature to create lepton and anti-lepton pairs, and these two were in thermal equilibrium. So about 10 seconds after the Big Bang, the temperature of the universe cooled down to a point where no lepton and anti-lepton pairs are created. So of course they go through this annihilation reaction, leaving a small residue of leptons left. So next we have the Photon Epoch, which started at 10 seconds. At this point, photons dominated the energy of the universe. Atomic nuclei were created in the process of nucleosynthesis for about 3 to 20 minutes. Nucleosynthesis is the production of nuclei other than those of the lightest isotope of hydrogen. It's responsible for the formation of most of the universe's helium and a small isotope of lithium. It's the process that created new atomic nuclei from pre-existing nucleons, primarily protons and neutrons. For the remainder of the Photon Epoch, the universe contained a hot, dense plasma of nuclei, electrons, and photons. This epoch started at 10 seconds and actually ended 379,000 years after the Big Bang, which is called the Cosmic Dark Age. The temperature of the universe fell to a point where nuclei could combine with electrons to form neutral atoms. The universe then became transparent, and the cosmic microwave background radiation was created, which is basically electromagnetic radiation left over from an early state of the universe. It's not really anything that happened at that point. It just left behind something which we were able to view today, and that's kind of where we got the idea for the Big Bang from. Maybe not the idea, but it's how we're able to prove any of this. We actually are able to look into this because of the cosmic microwave background radiation. After this, structural formation is what took place, and that goes into the next episode. This is where this one ends, because the Photon Epoch is kind of the last, especially linear early universe stage. The rest of it is just formation of the stars and the galaxies, the planets, including our planet leading into Earth. And one kind of crazy way that I thought that I could end this was just by going back to the first episode and all that stuff that happened in the first picosecond leading up to now, where we're about 20 minutes into the Big Bang, and then there's just this gap for 300, almost 400,000 years of this dark age. And for the next billion years, I mean, it's kind of scary to think about, because at that point, for that first billion years after this Big Bang, the universe is a cold and dark gas. It's just empty, and I don't know, it just gives you this eerie feeling, especially thinking like a billion years, how much time that is to us. I mean, we haven't been alive for even a centimeter of that. Our especially not even just us being alive, but humans existing in general. I mean, I think of all, like, tripling, quadrupling all the time that we've been here, and just that being nothing, that just being just darkness. Just close your eyes, and it's that for a billion years. I mean, what a dark way to end an episode. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's really that dark. It's just more, it's kind of confusing to try to think about these spans of time in human years, like putting yourself in the place of this dark nothing, and being there for a billion years when you yourself only live for less than 100. It just doesn't really make sense to our little human minds. But with the next episode going into the structure formation of the planets and the galaxies, and what we can actually see today if we look outside of this night sky right now, or day sky. I mean, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to talk about the universe, and I'm guessing you're here to listen to it. We can all kind of talk about it together. So I guess that's the end of this episode. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. and I'm glad to bring out this kind of content for you. So thanks for listening, and I guess I'll see you next time with the next episode of The Big Bang, which is going to structure formation. I might do something quick for all that. There's that huge gap of time between this episode and the next that I might have to do kind of like a filler episode talking about what little things happen, just going through them real quick. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time we go down the line.